vaginal bacteria that the baby would normally get. And after the baby's born, you just wipe that on the baby's face, and the baby gets all that good gut bacteria, which helps build their immunity. So, yeah, I mean, all this new research, but again, where's the research on how then going and injecting all these man-made chemicals, which to me is a lifeless food. It's straight up there with all the other chemicals and additives that they put in our food. It's lifeless, yeah? It doesn't come from the sun. It doesn't come from the ground. It's man-made stuff in a lab. So how is that supposed to help us?
Yeah, you put out some really good questions there for us, Michelle. Thank you for that. In regards to gut health, and particularly I'm interested in what you're saying about babies being born in regards to the bacteria from the mother's vagina. Do you know of any research that, says that having that bacteria creates better gut health, or I'm just curious if you've done any more research into gut health, and because I don't know much about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% microbirth. Yeah, as I suggested, you can get that online. I've got the DVD. I know not everyone lives around the corner from me, but I'm happy to lend it out. And that shows you all the research and everything that they've found. Okay. Yeah. I'm not good at remembering all those scientific things, so but certainly there's plenty, and you could probably just hit Google and you'd find a lot of research in there too.
Okay.
One thing I found really interesting about that was a lot of obstetricians, which are the ones that are performing all the C-sections, hadn't even heard about seeding, and it was the doulas and the midwives that were sharing the information. And I remember one midwife in particular at Casey Hospital, I won't name any names, but she had a meeting and she brought microbirth to the meeting and got the obstetricians to watch microbirth. And they were all shocked, and they went off and, did their research. And I was actually fortunate enough to doula a mummy who, her baby was transverse. So, fair enough, baby's not going to come out sideways. So she did have a C-section, and she was the very first woman to do the seeding at Casey Hospital. Yeah, so what does that say about vaccines? If the people that are in the industry doing the surgery haven't heard about this new findings, and it's us that's finding out about it. That's where the internet to me is such a blessing. We're so connected, we can share so much information now, there's no reason that we need to be in the dark.
Yeah, for sure. I know you just closed your book, but you had some things written in there. I just wondered if you wanted to share some of them, some quotes. Did you want to run us through anything interesting?
Okay. These were just a couple of things that jumped out at me. From Vaccines Revealed, and it was from episode 9, and yeah, I'm a little bit bummed that I didn't take notes from all the other episodes, but I think I was just glued to the screen and taking it all in. But one was, it's hard to get someone to understand something when their job relies on them not understanding. And, I really sat with that, and sat with the reactions that we're getting from our doctors and people in government and things like that. It was talked about immunity, and it said that we need to build the body up, not tear it down by injecting chemicals. Viruses are smart. They will find an unhealthy space and grow. It's the host, not the virus, we should focus on. Keep the host healthy. Vaccines will not stop viruses. And also, I guess, when I come back to healthy eating and eating, life foods, a lot of vaccines don't last forever, and I think this is something else that some people who vaccinate don't realise. They think, well, I've given my child the vaccine, they're protected, they're fine, they're safe, but some of them wear off after so many years. So what are you doing for immune? What else are you doing? And why are we only fearing the diseases that we vaccinate against? What about everything else? Yeah. So, yeah, I do feel it's a really big picture. I think a lot of people vaccinate out of fear. Personally, that's what I found. I think the government bringing in this no jab, no pay, no jab, no play, it's creating almost like a war down here between us. It's very subtle, but like they want that. The marketing has been building up towards this no jab, no pay. And I'm going to bring Don Tolman as an example again. He said many, many, many years ago they were going to do this. No one believed him. But he's been awake. He's been seeing what's going on, in the health industry, which is really the sick industry movement for a long time. He knew that they were conditioning us for this time. And they wanted enough people on board with the vaccination so they could bring this in and then hopefully bully most of the people that don't want to vaccinate into doing it or push them out of mainstream. Because we don't want people who are awake. We don't want people who are healthy. Why not? There's no money. To me, there's money in it. I think, gosh, if you started growing organic food and started producing the things that healthy people want, you can make money.
Yeah.
But I guess it's more work, more effort.
Yeah. In regards to these new legislations, what are your feelings about this, just personally, and I guess as well if you have any family and friends as well who are affected by it? Can you expand on that?
Yeah, sure. I'm utterly disgusted, and my heart is absolutely broken for those that are affected. If we don't have control, or not even control, that's the wrong word, if we don't have choice over what we're going to put into our own bodies and into our child's body, what choice do we have? This is supposed to be a free country. I think Australians kind of pride themselves on, we've got freedom of speech and we're a free country, and it's all rubbish, just like America, freedom of speech. What freedom? I'm pretty sure I read last night that the law has been passed too that we can't have home birth now. Midwives aren't going to be allocated to any insurance, and I don't know that they can get licensed for home births. I know this has been something that's been building for a while, but again, bigger picture, like look at everything that they're starting to take away from us, and where does it lead us? It leads us to the hospitals. It leads us to the sick care. Yeah. Who's making the money out of this? Who's getting the benefit out of this? Because I'm not seeing anyone benefit out of this.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't make sense for birth to be something that should happen in a hospital, because isn't that the place where people who are sick are supposed to go to?
Well, that's my theory. I've got lots of theories. I mean, the biggest one that stands out for me is we're mammals, yeah? And when you look at the way a mammal births, how do they birth? They go off on their own, they go somewhere private, they normally like somewhere dark. I mean, it depends on the mammal. But what we're doing as human mammals is we're clustering all those mammals together. We're putting them in this tiny little space. So one mammal's hearing another mammal birth, and that in itself is completely unnatural. There's no fresh air. The energy of those places is really different from the home. And if a woman's not feeling safe, then she's not going to be able to open up. And also, a woman's extremely vulnerable when she's in labour. I think that's why it's so important to choose your birth team and really plan out your birthday. Yes, things don't always go to plan, but you need to have some sort of idea of what's going on so people know your wishes and they can protect that through your journey, yeah? So you can just go in and just concentrate on you and the baby. It's very hard to do that in a hospital, especially if you haven't got a doula. Plugging doulas here. But we really are the ones that can go in there and watch over the space and help counteract some of a bit of backlash if you're going to get it, depending on what you're asking for or not asking for. Also, what's in a hospital? Drugs. Again, everything is just leading us to the drugs. We've got this old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Well, at the moment, they're just leading us all to the drugs. And we've got some of us that are saying, you can't make us take them. And they don't like that because they want everyone to take the drugs.
So, Michelle, I'm curious with, in terms of adverse reactions to vaccines, do you feel that these are a real thing?
Yeah, look, I certainly do. And I mean, I don't think you've got to be a scientist or a genius to kind of figure it out. You don't even really have to have any understanding of the body. I mean, blood flows to every organ in the body, and one of those places is the brain. You know, so we inject something into the bloodstream. I don't think the blood's smart enough to say, oh, just pop this over here where it's supposed to go. It's going to be flowing in everywhere, yeah? And it's going to go to the brain. So, you know, I guess you can break down the ingredients and what's in vaccines and things like that, and look at things individually and say, well, how would that, what sort of adverse reactions come from that? I know there's heavy metals and things. From my understanding, some of them have been taken out, but I mean, what about all the other stuff that's in there? But yeah, look, I believe that no one knows a child like a mother, and when a mother sits there and says, my child was fine, my child had a vaccination, my child woke up the next day, my child was different, we've got to listen. We've got to listen to the mothers. I'm going to bring in bigger picture here again. We're not listening to mothers in general, and this crosses over into birth. If we were listening to mothers, we wouldn't be trying to take home birth away. So, you know, this is a really big issue, you know, worldwide. I don't know if I have anything more to add to that.
Yeah, I'm actually wanting to do a separate episode on birth, a separate episode on breastfeeding, and also one on co-sleeping, to go a bit more in depth into those individual issues, because I totally hear you there. We're not listening to the mothers, and yeah, I just wanted to explore that a bit further in something separate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Awesome. I'll invite you.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you another question in regards to your work as a doula, because you'll be working with newborn babies, and there's vaccines that are recommended for after birth, the vitamin K and the Hep B. So could you, I guess, just tell us a little bit about your experience with that? Just see whatever comes up for you.
Yeah, sure. Look, my experience in a hospital, if you say no to the Hep B, they're normally pretty cruisy about it. You don't really have much backlash, but when it comes to the vitamin K, they really like to push that one. And if you're not going to have the jab, then they'll try and push the oral vitamin K. So it is something to be wary of if you're planning a hospital birth and you don't want to vaccinate. I've only ever come across one midwife who was quite strong and very pushy with people that didn't want to vaccinate. But other than that, it's not too much of an issue, as I said. I'm not there if someone chooses to vaccinate. I can't be there. I can't watch it. I do, as a whole, I guess looking at families' lifestyles and looking at the ones that do choose to vaccinate versus the ones that don't. The ones that do tend to not live as healthy anyway, and they're the ones with the Panadol on the bench, and their kids are getting ear infections, and their kids have got this, and they're at the doctors, and this is happening, and then, you know, mum's not well, and it's, again, I just think it's not just a vaccine issue. This is a whole lifestyle issue. There's a lot of layers there that we've got to kind of strip back and trying to get that passion back in them again to get them on the right path. But then in saying that, I mean, there was one family that is quite health conscious, done lots of research, and still chose to vaccinate. I was actually really surprised. But her profession, I don't want to say what it is, but I feel that actually she's done it because of her profession and the pressure that she would have got from that. So again, it all comes down to fear. I think a lot of people are just doing it out of fear.